Good morning. This is the Grant Amato Interrogation Review, and I want to cover this thing for a couple of reasons. One of them is that even though I had no real plans to move on to another true crime case when I started Chris Watts last year, the response changed my mind to see things like thank you for helping me understand this case, thank you for helping me through this time in my life. Of course, I'm going to start looking at the recommendations. And out of those, the one that I kind of got stuck on was the case of Grant Amato for the other reason I want to cover it, which is that as the motivation for this crime became clear, I almost wanted to apologize for everything I said about Chris Watts. Next to Grant Amato, Chris Watts' goal for committing the crime actually makes sense. He had a physical, tangible goal that he was striving to achieve. Now, he's a moron for thinking his plan would work and a cretin for attempting it, but it was a fruit that he had tasted, and he simply wanted to taste more of it unimpeded. Now, Grant Amato sacrificed everything, everyone who had supported him, everyone who loved him. The only reasons that he wasn't on a street corner selling pencils out of a tin cup, he sacrificed all of that for not even nothing, literally less than nothing. He thought it was something to him, obviously, and it was the opportunity to keep talking to a cam girl named Sylvie, which is basically internet porn, which he could have gotten a million other places for free. Sylvie was very expensive. He ran out of money very quickly, and he killed his entire family except for one brother for the opportunity to give away more of what he didn't have, to get nothing in return, to get basically someone else to describe a dream to him. It was something he could have gotten anywhere else. And it seems like a new thing, an internet cam girl. It's only existed very recently. But to give you some historical perspective to how ridiculous this motivation is, it's equal to maybe in the 1800s if someone killed their entire family to get another letter from their pen pal who they never met in person. Yeah. So Grant is a pretty smart guy. He's much smarter than Chris Watts as far as knowing his limitations and kind of being able to read other people's perceptions of him. And even more baffling is he's never admitted to committing it. To this day, he went through the entire trial. He made it out of the interrogation, made it through the trial, never admitted to the crime. But he was found guilty, and the most damning piece of evidence was this interrogation. So how could a pretty smart guy, he graduated college, knows how to build computers, how could he make a much dumber decision, maybe the dumbest decision possible by a human being in our current existence? Now, how could even a brain that knows how to find its way back to the door it left in the morning make such a stupid decision? He literally, he didn't even bite the hand that fed him. He ate the hand that fed him. So now there's no more hand left to give him more of what he wasn't earning on his own. How could that level of instinct even know to bring the spoon of food to his mouth, let alone make it through an interrogation and a trial and be seemingly normal? Well, the simple answer, if you've seen any other coverage on this case, is addiction and money. He needed more money to feed his addiction to the internet porn, basically. And if you're just looking to quickly satisfy your curiosity and move on with your day, that answer works. However, millions of people have unhealthy addictions. They lose almost everything. They lose their jobs, their families, their cars, their homes, and they end up homeless, miserable. It was all just to get that next fix. But they don't sink as low as Grant did. They don't make a decision as dumb as Grant did. Billions of people are addicted to their phones and internet. Almost everyone that has a phone is addicted to their phone. Every free moment, they're looking at their phone. If they're doing something that's not engaging enough, they will look at their phone while they're doing it. Now, that's an addiction because it's something that's not necessary. They don't need it to survive, but they keep doing it. They have the urge to keep doing it. Most people, it's a healthy addiction because everybody, every human being has the capacity for addiction. It's just where on the spectrum you fall. It's kind of like narcissism. Everyone is a narcissist. It's just how narcissistic are you? Do you have so much that it's starting to ruin your life and the lives of the people around you? Is it an unhealthy addiction? Or are you able to have just enough to where you can still maintain and even thrive in your personal life and you're getting your satisfaction for your addiction, but still keeping your life going? Now, Grant's not only the bottom of the barrel, he's scraping it and making it lower with this decision as far as addiction, and kind of goes hand in hand with narcissism, as we'll get to. So what's different about Grant? I found that if you have a working knowledge of the evidence and what came out in the trial, and then you watch this interrogation, you can learn what made Grant what he became, the person who is going to spend the rest of his life in jail, and rightfully so, who he was before he became that, and why he could make the lowest of decisions. Now, the first thing you might notice when you turn on this interrogation is that Grant looks like a parasite with a human face. Especially like this angle, you're looking down and it's blurry. It's kind of like looking through a microscope at like a paramecium with vaguely human features. And before you say, oh, Mike, you're just making fun of his appearance, that has nothing to do with who he was as a person or what he did to deserve jail, hear me out. Because physiognomy is an underrated field of study. What you see in the mirror every day has an influence on the decisions you make. Oh boy, I'm getting some gray here. Should I start buying hair dye to dye it and give a more youthful appearance, but risk looking like a phony old man who dyes his hair? Or should I age gracefully? Oh, these wrinkles in my face are getting deeper. Should I slather on heavier amounts of makeup and possibly look faker? Should I delve into my 401k, risk my future to get the surgery? Or should I age gracefully and look old? And what decision you choose, based on what you're seeing in the mirror, will shape the rest of your life. On top of that, what you see of yourself in pictures and videos, among others, has an effect on how you view your position in the world. So Grant Amato was looking at himself among his family at the time he committed the crime as, well, I'll never be as handsome and successful as my dad. I'll never be as beloved and generous and caring as my mom. My oldest brother, Jason, is way ahead of us as far as he already moved out at 18 or 19. He's already got his own career, his own family. I'll never catch up to him as far as status. Cody, my closer brother, Cody still lives with me, but he's light years ahead of me as far as financially, socially. He already has a group of friends. His career is going swimmingly. He has a girlfriend. I'm nothing more than the dead, deflated sperm cell that just accidentally flailed its way into the egg and somehow grew into the runt of the litter. Now, there's nothing wrong with being the runt of the litter. The least financially successful, least physically attractive sibling can have a meaningful life and a happy life. Maybe your one sibling makes more money than you, but you have a more morally satisfying line of work. Your other sibling might be more physically attractive, but you can be a better person. Maybe someone else will superficially like them at first, but when they get to know you, it leads to a longer, deeper relationship because you've made up for what you see as your inadequacies in your other areas, which are strengths. So Grant Amato could have done that. He could have said, I'm going to spend the rest of my life proving that I'm not the parasite I appear to be on first glance. But instead, he just, every day he looked in the mirror and he saw that bacteria with a human face looking back at him and said, I'm a parasite. I'm the runt of the litter. And that's what I'm going to be. I'm going to suck the life out of everyone because that's what I do. Even verbally, Grant leaves a trail of slime behind his words. When you listen to him start talking, he's like, so then my mom told Cody that my dad, who told me to call him Chad because he was mad, was bad. And that slime gets more viscous as the interrogation moves on, and his likelihood of leaving as an innocent man who's going to collect the life insurance and move to Bulgaria to find Sylvie. As the chances of that happening get lower, that slime gets thicker. So he has become what he saw in the mirror instead of trying to prove it wrong. Instead of having a meaningful life, he sank to the lowest of lows. And how did that happen? What I love about this interrogation, like I said, it's the most damning piece of evidence because every piece of evidence brought up in the trial is all kind of circumstantial. Nothing definitively points to Grant as having committed the crime, and he's never admitted to it. Everything brought up in the trial can be explained away and is by the defense to where you would have a little bit of doubt until you see the interrogation through his interactions with the three people he talks to. When you compare it to that, he looks guilty. Without question, looks guilty. The evidence alone doesn't have that effect. And what's great and what I love about this thing is that the three people that he communicates with to make himself look so guilty are kind of surrogates of his victims. Because, like I said, he killed his dad, Chad, his mom, Margaret, and his brother, Cody. And who he talks to are Detective Danny Anderson, who is a man about his dad's age, approaching retirement with children of his own, Detective Eva Marie Maltari, the surrogate of his mom, and his still surviving brother, Jason. And it's through these interactions with these three people, it's almost like the ghosts of his victims came back to haunt him and led to him spending the rest of his life where he belongs, in prison. So that's great. And we're going to have to get into the interrogation in the next video. So I will see you in part 2.